What's going on? This is Jesse Barnett from Stick to Your Guns, and you're watching Sonic Perspectives.
Hello.
What's going on? What's going on from LA to Tasmania connection right now? I love it.
It's pretty solid, hey. Like that's not bad. I have no idea what the actual delay is, but it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it does. It does sound good. And I'm sorry to dox you. I mean, I assume that everybody probably knows that you're in Tasmania, but I don't know if you're
Pretty
trying to
much.
like. Okay, cool.
Yeah, when there's protection down in this like little island.
Exactly. They're looking for your ass, bro.
Yeah. No, it's all good, man. Things are nice and quiet down here. It's like a really super chill pace. So that's kind of like why we're down here, just to kind of relax. And the nature is incredible down here too. So it's yeah.
I can only imagine
it's nice.
Every time we go to Australia, I'm just like, how the fuck does anything look like this? But and I've been to New Zealand once, and cool. I know that where you are is neither of those places. But I feel like I can imagine.
New Zealand it's funny because New Zealand is like if Australia were more mountainous and didn't have any deadly animals. That's kind of how I think New Zealand is really.
100%.
Yeah, but no, New Zealand's a gorgeous place, and like the two islands are completely different from each other as well. You know, the North Island's like really hilly and green and luscious, and then the South Island's like it's like Switzerland. It's just like big, you know, mountainous Alps, Rocky Alps. It's like two planets that are like literally a ferry ride away from each other.
No, but, I think we only did. I don't know where we did. I think we just did the South Island, but either way, the show was terrible, but being there was incredible.
That's awesome. So. Yeah. Do you have any plans to get back to Australia? Like just low key?
I mean, I'm always planning in my head.
but nothing. I can imagine.
But nothing like concrete yet, just because we don't know. I mean, we're still trying to navigate everyone's COVID restrictions and things like this and all that kind of shit. But definitely once it makes it a little bit easier to get there. I mean, it's never really the easiest thing in the world, but that's never stopped us the 6 times we've come before or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always Australia's high on our priority list for sure.
That's cool. All right. Well, I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting for sure. Cool. Let's just get straight into it, man. Of course, you know, Spectre is the 7th studio album from you guys. Is that correct?
I think.
I believe it's either the 6th or 7th. It's just a number now.
Exactly.
I think it's like the 6th or 7th or something like that. But I mean, it is just absolutely top of the range, and I can't wait for people to hear it, man. Like I've just been spinning it nonstop since I've been, you know, given the privilege to check it out. And
I really appreciate it, and you know, it's funny too because explaining the process of this record, which I do genuinely believe in my heart of hearts to be our strongest material to date. There was nothing romantic about it. There was no like, you know, going into the weeds and trying to get creative it's like, it was never in my life have I been a part of a recording process that was so streamlined and so calculated. And it was like we were doing a job. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, everyone knows what they're supposed to do, like assassins. You know what I mean? That's really what it was like. It was like, let's get in there, get the job done, get the fuck out. And
wow.
You know what I mean? And like everybody did what they were supposed to do to the best of their possible ability. And like on older Stick to Your Guns records, we definitely had a lot of like, okay, what albums have been released in the past 5 years that we find that are really impactful to us, and how can we draw inspiration from this in a way to, you know, create our own sound or whatever. There was none of that on this record. There was no specific band, really. There was no specific albums. It was more so like, okay, this is our, like, as you pointed out, that I've probably forgotten, 6th or 7th album. What have we learned as musicians, and how do we apply that to our album? That's really all it was. It was like, what can we make with our skill set now, to where we don't have to necessarily pull from any external influence, and what can we just make with what we know? You know what I'm saying? And that was really, and that's not to say that you're definitely going to listen to the album and be like, oh, this sounds like a this part or this sounds like a that part, and you'd probably be correct, right? Because you know, It's, let's be honest, there's no you're running out of way to play power chords, really, is what it's coming down
Yeah,
to.
I
So
feel
it's
you. I feel you.
nothing's really new. You know what I mean? All you can really do is try to inject a little bit of flavor or
Hmm.
swag or personality, whatever you want to call it, onto what it
Yeah.
is that you're doing. And you know, it is a very dynamic record. It's, you know, and but we've always been influenced by bands that don't just sound one way, or who we've
Hmm.
always been influenced by bands who aren't just one thing. Um, and so that's where really that comes from. It's just like we want it, we want the record to be like, oh, this is like a fuck, that's a heavy song, like holy fuck, that's a really melodic song with a big like such a sucker for big choruses, you know what I mean? Like I love that shit, I love it. And you have to know
100%.
that. Anyone who's a Stick to Your Guns fan has to know that, you know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
like no one's holding me against my will being like, sing this big giant chorus. It's like, no, that's shit that I like, you know what I mean? It's like that's what interests me. I like things to be catchy, and I like, you know, especially when I'm singing about something that is important to me or something that I feel like is something that I want to say, I want people to be able to connect with that. So there's nothing, to me, being catchy is, that's the goal. So
I think the catchiest part for me was the chorus for The Shine.
oh,
It
thank you. You know what's so funny is like, especially with The Shine being like track 9 or whatever it is on the record,
so it's
that is a
yeah,
song
yeah.
that we all love, but we were like, oh, I don't think the song's gonna have the legs of like a weapon or of like a, let's say, I mean, you know
Seriously?
it, but like Open Up My Head, like, you know, these songs that
Oh,
we
dude, that completely smacked me from like left of field. I was like, this is not the same band. Like, this is
no,
just
straight up.
so different, but in like the best way. But sorry, let me continue, please.
No,
Like,
no,
it's
for sure. And
totally,
and I think
yeah.
that even though if you were to ask Stick to Your Guns, okay, on the new record, each member, what is your top three? The Shine is making it into every single one of our top three
That's
songs.
sick.
Um, and this is now my third interview in a row where the interviewer has said The Shine is a song that has really stuck out to them. So I think we're
Yeah.
now starting to recalibrate, like, oh fuck, we're gonna have to push this track, you know what I mean? Because people really are connecting with it. And I love it. It's probably my second, if not, it's not my first favorite, but it's probably my second.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's just that chorus is so powerful, and it just comes out of nowhere. That big minor to major change is just this
Right.
really, this kind of like over, how do like overwhelming moment
No,
essentially. But
sure, sure.
yeah, oh man, but there's a lot of moments like that throughout the album. So if we talk about all of them, it's going to be well past like an hour interview. But but look, let's just kind of go back to the start. I mean, what's been the main driving force for this band for this whole time, and kind of as we get to Spectre, how has it morphed to what it is today?
So you're talking about literally from the beginning of the band until now.
Yeah, yeah. If you can summarize that, of course, it's a lot of time, but
No, no, sure, sure. And I'll try to do my best without rambling at you for too long. But there
okay.
definitely is, like, I mean, again, every time Six Year Guns releases a record, we do pull in some new people here and there.
Mhm.
But like for the most part, everyone who listens to Six Year Guns now is people who have been a fan for the last record or the last couple records, or even maybe since the beginning, like whatever it may
Yep.
be. I mean,
Yep.
we've always been a band that wanted to sing about like what we view as political things. Some people, I feel like we as people have become so divorced from our own political power that we think that there are things that exist within life that it's just like aren't political. And you see it all the time when people are like, oh, don't make this political. But it is my belief that everything on this planet, from your AirPods to my fucking headphones to this fucking my grandma's armoire behind me that she left me, like to this fucking whatever the fuck this is, this duster, whatever. It's like everything is political, and everything that we see in our daily lives has been created by everyday people, by
Mhm.
laborers. Everything is created by labor. And me being a socialist, a lot of people like to throw in my face like, oh, that's interesting, you're using an iPhone. It's like, labor made this iPhone. Labor designed the iPhone. Labor made the parts for the iPhone. Wi-Fi as well was a publicly that's a public good for the whole world to use.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I mean, even the cell
Yep.
phone, like the cell phone was created and put on public domain for anyone to be. I can go start a cell phone company and not have to pay anything to start that. So
Yep.
I think it's switching. Now the goal, at least, was before it was like, yo, we got to. It was like, yo, like the general meaning at the beginning of Stick to Your Guns was like, fuck racism, that shit's whack. fuck the fact that we live in the richest country in the world, but there are still people who are starving and we throw away food every year.
Yeah.
Fuck the fact that we have empty homes right now and there are people who are living on the street. But that's all it came to. And it wasn't until I realized, like, fuck, these are political ramifications for the things that are happening around us. It wasn't until then that I feel like I really honed in on who I was as a person and what the goal of Stick to Your Guns should be, and the goal of just my own personal life, because my existence is political. Your existence is political. And we every day give up our political power because we're exhausted, right? We spend so much time at work. We spend so much time at school. We spend so much time trying to raise our families. We spend life, to quote Have Heart here, life is hard enough as it is. So it's like when you're trying to convince people, hey, now go to these really long meetings about, democratic control over what is happening in your neighborhood and all this stuff, and people are like, fuck you. Like, I don't want to deal with politics. But it's just, I think people are starting to wake up to understand that's where the real power is, right? That is where we can start combating things like racism. That is where we can start combating things like food insecurity, like religious prosecution, like homelessness, like freedom of movement, whether that looks like public transportation or whatever that may look like to any given person's life, depending on where you live in the world. We really need to start engaging with this. And that to me now, more than anything, is the ultimate goal. Is because Stick to Your Guns is from a country called America, where we have two parties who both serve the same class. They both serve the same class interests. And then you have the very same people in this country who look and point at other governments or other countries and call them authoritarian or a dictatorship. And it's like, we're living in one right now. You know what I mean? I'm lucky enough to have been able to create this band and tour the world with it and make a little bit of money off of it. But I also know if I had no money, what freedom in this country would I have? If I had no money, right? And it doesn't matter what the reason is. It doesn't matter the reason I have no money. You might think I'm bad at managing my money or whatever it may be. But it's just like, we need to be able to create securities for people to where they don't have to worry about that they're going to lose their home. They don't have to worry about they're going to lose their job. They don't have to worry about they're going to not be able to go to school anymore to get an education, or how they're going to get their food, or so on and so forth. Because when people are secure in that, it makes them independent and not reliant on anything or anyone. They have what they need. Now they can start living a truly independent life and a life that they want to lead. You know what I'm saying? And,
absolutely.
I push this. I'm going to wrap it up here. I apologize for the long.
It's okay, man. It's fine.
I push this socialist shit a lot, not because I have some sort of specific agenda. I do have an agenda, but like, it's not because like I've been brainwashed or anything like that. It's just like I apply the science of socialism to my own life, and I'm able to look at how much money me as an artist or my band and the five of us as artists have created. And when you look at how much money that we have created through our music or through going on tour, and then you see how much we're getting from that, you know what I mean? It's like you start realizing that it's like we can't separate our fight as musicians from the fight of labor, because that's literally what's happening. It's like, oh, Jeff Bezos, I get a lot of my liberal friends who come to me, they're like, I bought something off Amazon, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, see, you don't understand where I'm coming from. I think Amazon is an incredible technology. This idea that someone somewhere can push a button and get something that they need to deliver directly to their house. That's amazing. If I was to overthrow the government tomorrow and implement a socialist government here in America, the last thing I'm going to do is get rid of Amazon. All I'm going to do is nationalize that shit so that the people who are working tirelessly don't have to piss in bottles in between dropping off fucking packages to people, or have to work these ragged ass shifts so that they can afford to keep a roof over their head. No, you make it so that this amazing thing that labor creates, labor created this, and just make it so that the people who make everything in our fucking lives can just have the most basic of things. I'm not saying I want a yacht and everyone deserves a private jet. No. There's this old socialist song called "I Don't Want Your Millions, Mister," and that's how most of the working class everywhere feels. We don't want millions of dollars. We don't want watches and all the crazy shit. We just want to be able to provide for ourselves and our families. You know what I mean? And it's like the fact that I can say that on here, and I know you're going to put this up just so you're prepared, and you're going to get an onslaught of hatred for what I'm saying right now. But it's like
Don't care, man.
I know, sure, and
Yeah.
I'm glad because I feel like people
Yeah.
actually are waking up. It's like, yes, you can call me a crazy leftist. Oh, I'm a fascist leftist. I'm a crazy communist. I'm one of those wacky social whatever. You can call it whatever you want. Here are my politics. Is my father warm? Can my brother walk? Can my mother eat? And can my sister read? Those are my politics. That's it. You can call that whatever the fuck you want. You can call it whatever you want, but those are my politics. And I don't want to get into the weeds of like, oh, Marx once said that. Fine, then fuck what he said if that's not politically correct or whatever.
Sure.
Fine.
Sure.
This is what we're fighting for. Let's stay fucking focused. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's it. And that's where we started. 60 guns down with racism to okay, let's figure out what the problems of racism are. Let's figure out how racism is used against the working class and all these things, and let's tear that shit the fuck down and realize that we are united against a ruling class.
Okay, now
I'm so sorry to just lecture you.
No, I feel like I need to speak with you for like another 6 hours at least to unpack all that stuff. But I mean, with that being said, you said we're going to get a lot of hate and all that kind of stuff. I mean, sure, but that for me, that comes from the people who hear those trigger words like socialist, or they hear communist, or or on the other side they hear capitalist and stuff. But for me, when I'm hearing you speak about these things, I feel like you're not coming from a place of like a political center point, so to speak. You kind of have almost like an impassioned love for humanity, which is then fueled. Right. Sorry, continue.
But that's what I wanted to say was the politics are at the center of what I'm saying, right? It's like, I'm over the hallmark version of politics, which is just like, as long as you voted and as long as you say you believe the right things in here, don't believe them in the actual world, just believe them in here. You know what I mean? And that's where like neoliberal policies and these ideas of politics as the West knows them, whether it be America or Australia, like those aren't politics. That's theater. You know what I mean? That's entertainment. You know what I mean? Fighting for your favorite, like the cult of personality and all that shit. Like I'm not interested in any of that. People fighting for their basic rights. That's politics. And obviously what you see in Australia and what you see in America is you have this entire class of people, what we call as communists, the petty bourgeoisie. And they aren't quite bourgeois in the sense of they're the ruling class, but they identify with that. They want to be there. And a lot of these people are people who like, they're business owners who have become successful, you know what I mean? But aren't in a necessarily ruling class position, but they identify with the ruling class because they would rather identify with them than identify with the class below them, right? Because it's people are classist. And they think that if you're poor, then it's just because you didn't work hard. And they don't want to look into the actual context of why people are poor, what policies that are intact that keep those people poor. It's like I said, they want you to believe, oh yeah, down with racism and that sucks. Believe it here. But when you actually try to implement it here in the real world, you're going to be met with state violence. You're going to be met with all sorts of venomous
of
things.
gnarly stuff.
Right. Exactly. And I see Australians falling for the same shit that Americans do. This like Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, pseudo like, man, I'm a man, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look,
we've got that. Yeah.
Sure. And everywhere's going to have it. And I understand that because people feel so powerless. So now what's happening is they're overcorrecting and they're like, I don't need anyone. I'll just lift a bunch of weights and eat meat raw. And then I'm not going to need anyone. You know what, bro? If the police come in your house, it doesn't matter how many Joe Rogan podcasts listen to you. They're going to shoot you in your fucking head and you're done. And the reason for that is the reason why individualist politics have become so popular is because the ruling class doesn't want you to join with your brothers and sisters. Because when you're by yourself, the individual is completely and utterly powerless. You have no power as a single individual. And you know who knows these things? Capitalists and communists. But capitalists want you to stay individual. They want you to think, oh, you can just do it by yourself. You don't need anyone. And communists are like, why don't we all join together and take back power from these motherfuckers who are telling us what to think and how to act and all these things. And why don't we make those decisions? We are smart enough and strong enough together to make those decisions ourselves. We don't need the ruling class to tell us these things. But anyway, this is all things that we speak about on the record and shit like that.
You do, and it's incredibly powerful the way that you bring it across. And I would say that I misphrased before. I didn't mean to say that the politics wasn't at the center of your motivation. It was more that
Sure.
the passion for that politic being at the center of your focus comes from I feel like a place of love for people,
right.
And that's kind of what I meant to say. I guess that's
absolutely.
That's why with the Hope Division, you've got that, you've got the love heart, you've got the diamond, everything is just going around and it's all coming around. And that's kind of what I feel is just, from listening to you guys all the way back at the, your first albums all the way to now, there is this feeling of camaraderie and just collective support for each other. And just this almost like reciprocal strength, I would say is probably the best way to say it. And then obviously having that reciprocal strength with everyone to kind of fight towards something that you believe is important to fight against. So that's what I meant to articulate.
But you are right. Ultimately, like at the end of the day, like you are right. It is being led by, like, I always say this all the time. Like, I don't trust communists or socialists who have no spirituality. You know what I mean? Because if you don't have the spirituality, it's the spirituality that connects you from person to person, or from you to the earth, or from you to your family. It's like, you know what I mean? Like to understand the essence of what true human connection really is. It's like you need to allow yourself to be vulnerable and intimate. And these are things that people who are spiritual understand. But on the same time, I don't trust spiritual leaders who dismiss everything is like, oh, don't worry, you're sleeping on the street and you have nothing to eat. You don't need to worry about that, because those are just mere mortal things. And once you get into heaven, God's going to take care of you. So I'm trying to walk the line right in between those things of like, no, we as communists, we have to be spiritual, or socialists, we have to be spiritual. We have to allow like people who are religious, because like a lot of people are religious, especially a lot of desperate people, like a lot of working class people, like who feel like, oh, I'm gonna take this religion to fill in the hole of what I'm not getting from the world. You know what I mean? And so we need to be able to recognize those things and meet people where they are. It's not so much about me trying to pull people to me. It's about me, the socialist, because that's the burden of proof is on me. If I'm trying to convince someone of socialism, that burden of proof is on me. I'm never going to be able to pull someone to me. I have to go to them, and I have to go, okay, why do you think these things? Okay, why you know what I mean? And you have to engage with people in that way. And in order to do that, you can't be like, oh, well, one time in this year you once said this, or you know, it's not about that. It's like, okay, let's figure this all out. Let's wrestle with this. Let's struggle through this as people, because at the end of the day, you're not my enemy, because you aren't redlining families to make sure that a majority of Black and brown people stay in the ghetto. You're not the one who's saying like, you're not the one lobbying to get rid of public transportation so that we can get more cars on the road and shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not the one doing that. There are policymakers and there are capitalists who are doing that. All I'm trying to do is convince you that these people who only care about profit don't care about you, no matter what they say. You know what I mean?
It's a scary thing for people to wake up to as well. I think it's a very daunting experience to kind of have that realization that nothing is kind of like that simple, you know?
100%. But it is like, that's the idea of the heart, and that's the idea of the diamond. That's like, this whole thing is cyclical, and we have to break a cycle. You know what I mean? And if we're gonna, like, everything is connected. We are all connected. You know what I mean? Some guy might be listening to that. Like, that's bullshit. I haven't had any help. Well, you didn't build your car you're driving to work in. You didn't build the roads that you didn't build the office that you're building in. Like, we all need to realize that we are connected. And the same thing of you, like of this person who might be listening to this, who's going to work right now, who just works in front of a computer. It's like, your boss, the one who, probably takes more money than you, without you sitting there in front of that computer, he's nothing but a dickhead with a good idea. You know what I mean? Like, I can, I want to create a fucking, it doesn't matter. It's all in here. You know what I mean? Entrepreneurs or whatever the fuck. An idea in here is nothing if you don't have to exploit people to make your thing. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. And it's just trying to get people to understand that is we can build everything that you see around you that you think is actually truly adding to your life and not giving you mental illness. Like, we can build that together as a society. Only thing I'm saying, the only difference is I just don't think there should be 10 people who take the profit from all that. I think we should all profit off of that.
Well, okay.
I don't
Well,
know why.
speaking of, before we get
But
into the album, speaking of the, you know, I guess working together and kind of coming to a, what would you say, a collective success. Tell me a bit about All Power Books, because I've seen on your socials that it's a really quite, what would you call it, an important part of your life at the moment. And it looks like you're really celebrating, you know, its function and its place in its community. So can you tell me a bit about All Power Books?
100%, absolutely. So yeah, All Power Books is a communist bookstore that I opened up with some of my comrades here in LA. It's about a mile down the street from where I live. And we provide it's a space where people, especially from the neighborhood that we're in, who is a historically underserved neighborhood, people can come in and get free groceries. They can come in and get free hygiene care. They can come in and get free cleaning supplies for their apartments if they are living in apartments. A lot of people who come in are living on the street, so we help connect them with like Section 8, which is like housing vouchers to get into housing and all sorts of things like this. And also at the same time, we're trying to build community power, you know, and right now what's happening to that neighborhood that we're in, excuse me, is that it's becoming very gentrified. And West Adams is a very historic neighborhood in Los Angeles, and they're knocking down all of these historic buildings and putting up these, you know, square box, ugly, postmodern looking pieces of shit to invite people who aren't from the neighborhood to come in and basically just take over. And the thing is with gentrification, it's like capitalist developers have convinced people of the public that they bring prosperity to the neighborhood. Like, oh, the buildings here used to look like shit, now they look good. That's fine and dandy, but who is profiting off of that? The people who were living in that neighborhood can now not even afford to live in the neighborhood that they have for decades. And you, the person, the developer who's bringing prosperity, you're the only one who's prospering off of this. You know what I mean? Like, you're the only one who's making like your life better. And the only other lives that are becoming better are the people who are rich, who are coming into the neighborhood, who aren't from there. You know what I mean? So the whole thing is a fucking scam. And you know, we're seeing that. We're seeing people get kicked out of their homes. We're seeing people who've been living there for years, who are now struggling due to the pandemic and things like that, not be able to stay in their homes or keep stay in the neighborhood that they've lived in for so long because they're being priced out of it. And this obviously isn't just happening in West Adams. It's happening in every neighborhood across Los Angeles, especially like the poorer ones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, the bookstore has been awesome. And it's like, we actually have, we were on the verge of getting kicked out of our space because they wanted to close us down, paint the walls, and then charge 6 times the price of what they were charging us, because the neighborhood is up and coming. You know what I mean? So they want to kick us out there and then charge other people who want to open up a gourmet fucking like hipster bagel shop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who to come move in and sell their fucking bagels or whatever. And look, again, I'm not trying to shit on anyone's business or anything like that. It's just like,
you're not shitting on bagels, no.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I love bagels. I would eat them every day if it wasn't going to stop my heart. But like,
for sure.
It's the idea is like, we're in there not as a business, but as a community function to provide true community care to people. And it's like, capitalism it doesn't have a heart. It can't see what it is that we're doing. All it sees is profit, because the second profit starts getting cut off, it's like cutting the air off to a living, breathing creature. We created this creature whose air is profit. And if you start thinking in other terms that aren't profit, then the system is going to die, which is what I want. But we as a collective need to see how ridiculous and Hippocratic that a system like that is. How can that possibly meet the needs, not the wants, the needs of the people? It can meet the wants of the people all day long, because capitalism creates things that we don't even know we want, right? It's because it creates a highly addictive, toxic culture. So of course, you created a fucking vegan Oreo that's stuffed with M&Ms and cookies and chips. Of course I'm going to be the first one in line to buy something like that. Of course I am. But it's
That
not
sounds
anything I
pretty good.
need. Yeah, you know
No.
what I mean? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like, that's not anything I fucking need. And so it's like,
Yep.
how do we create a system, right, that meets the needs of the people? And here in America, healthcare is a massive fucking need. Housing is a massive fucking need. Education is a massive fucking need, and also freedom of movement, a way that people can travel from different parts of their neighborhoods or different parts of their city or different parts of their state or nation in an
Yep.
affordable way. These are needs, and capitalism has failed to be able to meet those needs. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if you're telling
Yeah.
me that I might have to give up a weird, like, cool vegan Vietnamese pop-up shop over in Echo Park so that we can have these things, fine. But I feel like there's a way that we can have all these things. The only thing we can't have is a ruling class of like 20 billionaires. You know what I mean? And why
Yep.
we as individuals identify with them so much. Like, oh, we can't get rid of the billionaires. I might be one day. You're not. You're not. You're not. Like, people don't become billionaires by hard work. I'm sorry, you're not. Like, I don't know who needs to see this. I'm looking right at the camera. You're not. You're not going to become a billionaire. You're not. Stop. Give up. What are you doing? What is this fantasy? Stop. It's making us insane. You're not even going to become a millionaire. Stop. Just fight for the things that we all need together. And I'm not trying to talk about utopia. I'm not trying to talk about we're all going to join hands and walk together in the park. No, I don't like most people. So that's not what this is about. This is just about understanding the basic needs of people everywhere, not just in America, but in Cuba, in Venezuela, all over the global South, in Africa, in India, in Australia. You know what I mean? Especially because Australia is a settler colonial state, the same way Israel is, the same way that America is. There were native and indigenous people there before, and we came there. And as we're seeing here in America, with the climate, with California just falling into the ocean, you're starting to see all these programs where states are giving land back to native people and the indigenous population, and they are instantly reversing the effects of climate change instantly. And so it's like, the whole thing is backwards and insane. And when I see people who have been so brainwashed mentally into holding this fucking system up, it gets quite frustrating. But I try to remain as calm as I possibly can, because these are all things that we're going to have to reckon with, because they are going to affect us all. Not all of us, because billionaires are going to be able to hop in their rocket ships and go wherever they need to go, or they're going to be able to go into their bunkers that literally exist in Switzerland.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, all this shit, like, they're fine.
Yep.
They're not concerned with us. We have to be concerned with us. So
yes. So yeah, I love it. So yeah. Anyway, so that's what All Power Books is about.
Yes, exactly. All Power Books is my ideas of love in my brain pushed out into the world, and what I have in my heart and what I have in my mind, it's pushed out into the physical, real world. That's all it is. My ideas of what I believe, I'm trying to live them. That's it.
I really appreciate how comprehensive of an answer you provide. I think it's
thank you.
No, I think it's just a lot more than, oh yeah, just start up this bookshop with some friends, and it's like really community-led initiative. Yeah, it's cool. It's like, I think it's incredibly admirable, the amount of effort and there's a lot of passion in that too. So that's
thank you.
I think it's really cool.
And the main thing too, really quick, and I'll wrap up that answer, is like, we talk to our neighbors. We talk to the neighborhood. There is no board of directors. It's not me leading it. It's me asking, what do we need? Okay, we need that. Cool. Let's get it all together. Like, the neighbors and the people we serve are just as much a part of the bookshop as we are. You know what I mean? Like, they bring in stuff to donate. Like, there's literally people who are homeless who are like, hey, I got these Tupperwares. They're brand new. I want to bring them to donate to you guys. You know what I mean? Like, we're seeing what people power looks like. We're seeing that people who have nothing now have a place to come and give, because giving to one another and living in service of each other, it feels good. We do things all day long to make ourselves feel good. We eat food that makes us feel good. We go to movies that make us feel good. We listen to music that makes us feel good. Why should we not act in society in a way that makes us feel good? Nothing makes us feel good out in society that's why we fucking try to escape into these all day fucking long, is because we don't feel good. We are riddled with mental health. But I can say for a fact, at least for my own personal mental health, which is definitely not as severe as others, doing what I'm doing has eliminated any sort of depressive thoughts that I may have had about myself or my position in the world or what I want to do with my life. It is completely eliminated that. And I think that the more people who get involved with work like what we're doing and start to see this thing are going to start realizing that in themselves as well. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I hope that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
It makes a lot of sense. I think what you touched on there about, like helping people essentially helps yourself is a very true thing. And that's,
people
that kind of speaks to the,
they like to say that to me, like, oh, you're only doing it because it makes you feel good. So what?
Is
you know
that
what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a good byproduct.
I do things all day long that make me feel good. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
So why is this? What does that mean? Like, you're trying to, it's people trying to like be like, oh, you're only doing it because you're selfish. It's like,
yeah, exactly. It's like, come on, man.
I guess. What are you talking about? Like, why can't both things be true at once? I'm helping someone and it's making me feel good. That sounds like a win-win to me. Like, 100%. We've just become so cucked by this society that we think that it's like, okay, well, someone's got to lose. There needs to be someone who doesn't have enough so that this person can have everything they need. It's like, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. You've just internalized this system. And so you think when I attack the system that I'm attacking person X, Y, and Z.
Personally, yeah.
It's got nothing to do with personal people. It's got nothing to do with that. Marx says this: capitalism makes fools out of all of us. Everyone from Bezos to the person living outside in the street. It makes fools out of all of us because it disconnects us from our what I believe to be our human purpose, which is to work together to create amazing things. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Perfect segue. Speaking of amazing things, the new album. No, I was just thinking, okay, we got to chat about this album because
for sure.
I could 100% go down this rabbit hole with you because I'm super interested in this kind of discourse. I think it's so integral and so important to chat about.
Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, let's talk about the album for sure.
This album
my band
is
will scream
absolutely
at me.
amazing. They're like, dude, come on, subject.
Yeah, exactly. Straight up, dude.
No, but look, let's chat about this album. I mean, I haven't felt this much rage and almost deliberate fury from you guys since I would say maybe Diamond or Disobedient. Like it's so full on. And not to talk anything bad about True View, I love that album as well. I thought it was beautifully written. But there is something in Spectre that is just so next level. So I mean, what was the writing process? Like how did you kind of break out of that? How did you color outside the lines, so to speak, to come up with Spectre?
Sure. So I think especially, and I'll use True View to compare it against, like me personally, and I think the band personally, when we went into the studio to do True View, we were all, especially me, we were all kind of like in this weird floaty kind of, it was just like a weird process where no one really felt like, we were just really questioning ourselves and we were questioning our band, and it was just like, it was so strange. And I think that feeling really comes through in True View when you listen to it. It's kind of all over the place in a way that doesn't necessarily seem deliberate. It's almost like True View is almost like, okay, we got this song. You don't like that one? Okay, well, what about this one? Okay, well, what about this one? It's more so that. Whereas like I was saying before about Spectre, it was very deliberate. We went in with a deliberate goal and everyone knew exactly what they needed to do. They knew what the job was, and we fucking went in, did it, and fucking dipped. And I think that like I haven't been, like I said before, like I haven't really been in a process, an album recording process like that, either in a long time or if not ever. Just because, you know, sometimes we as artists don't want to believe that we're like workers. We want to believe like, yes, I'm going to change the world with my mind. It's like, shut the fuck up. No, you're not. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not. But we can, I do believe that music can influence people.
Sure.
You know, and it can for sure. But like, I didn't go in with any of that. I was like, okay, this is the job. This is what we need to speak about. This is what I want to talk about. Cool. Let's do this. And we just went through and there was no, I don't want to say no emotion, but it was just like, if someone wrote something that sucked, we were like, that sucks. You can do better.
Yeah.
Go try again. You know what I mean? Like, or they would say that to me, especially like, they'd be like, oh, you're getting too, I mean, as you can tell from this interview.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesse, say anything you want to say. We're going to be writing 15-minute tracks. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to be like, I'm just never going to shut the fuck up. So I definitely need to be reeled in a lot more to try to say what I'm saying in a more concise way.
Sure.
You know, which sometimes that's my biggest issue, because, you know, and you can see it now with a lot of Stick to Your Guns fans who get really upset with me about socialism. They're like, you used to be about love and peace and unity, and now you're about tearing people
Oh
apart. It's
man.
like, and this is the problem when with songs only being 3 minutes and I can't get my full point across. No, you don't
Yeah, for
understand.
sure.
I am even more now about love, peace, and unity than I ever have been. That other guy that you're talking about that you loved so much, he was a fake. He wasn't a fake. He just didn't understand fully. This guy
Yes.
understands more, and now I'm urgent. And now I don't think that love, peace, and unity is something that can be compromised on. That's why I'm so intense about it. You know what I'm saying?
Did
So,
you?
but
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
but
No,
no,
continue, please.
to come to sorry to bring it back to the actual question is
That's fine.
like I need to be reeled in a lot. Like, okay, and that's what Drew, who did our album, our producer, was so
Yep.
great at that. I would bring him. He would be like, okay, instead of coming to me with lyrics, come to me with your just un like your raw,
Oh,
unfiltered thoughts, and we will figure out a way to pull lines from your thoughts of what you want to talk about that are really picturesque. You know what I mean? And we'll put
yes,
those into the
yes.
song, and we'll make it more concise. And so he did. He was really great with me, and I feel like he pulled a lot of really good shit out of me.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah.
That's really cool. So it's almost like the lyrics are like a distillation of your thoughts, or essentially.
Right, like,
They
it's almost just like there's this stream of consciousness that was just going, 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 and then Drew would be like, "This is crazy. Okay, that's a cool thing. I'm gonna pull that out of your insane stream of
That's
consciousness. I'll pull that out."
exactly
You
what I was
know?
imagining. I was just
Right.
like, yeah, there must be like this little bit of steam coming out of his ears, and he's like, okay, we're gonna catch this bit of steam.
No,
That's yeah,
straight up. And like we
that's
would have
cool.
these kind of like he would almost interview me and be like, "Okay, well, what do you think? How do you feel about this?" You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I would start talking, and then he would be like, "Okay, cool." And then he would really help me with that, and help me like
Yeah.
I need a lot of help with loosening the knots. Once
Mhm.
he would help me loosen all the knots, and once the knots got
Yep.
loose, then I could go to work. You know what I mean? But
Wow.
sometimes I get so like I'm so analytical that like those knots can be really tight, and I don't know how to
Yes.
loosen them. So he would be like, "Okay, loosen it up a little bit, relax, relax," and I would be able to be like, "Oh, okay,
Okay.
now I can articulate what I'm feeling." You know what I mean? So
And
yeah.
did you feel any pressure on you or just the band as a whole to write this album? Did you feel like you had to one up something, or did you kind of just go in kind of feeling like this is a new stage in our lives or in the life of the band?
There's always that pressure. There's always that
Yeah.
pressure of like, well, here's the thing too, is like we're really starting to notice our age difference between the new generation of hardcore and metalcore kids and
Hmm.
us as hardcore and metalcore kids. And that's can create a lot of anxiety, almost like you can't relate to what your fan base is anymore. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
but I don't view it as that anymore. I think that so long as you're being authentic and you're being genuine, that you're going to be able to connect with people, and it's not so much about like a generational divide, or it's not so much about a um, like a political difference, or you know what I mean. Like it's not about these
Yeah,
weird
sure.
divides that we make up in our head. I think so long as you're speaking with confidence about what it is that you believe, people
Mhm.
will connect with that, whether that be they connect with it in a positive way or whether they connect with it in a really negative way. And I know too, especially with like, it's just going to happen. Like,
Yep.
especially now with socialism and communism being on the forefront of of everybody's political discourse now,
Yep.
you're just going to start seeing a lot more visceral reactions to the things that we're talking about, which can be scary, but it can also be exciting. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not trying to go to war over this shit. You know what I mean? I just want you to understand where your power lies. You know what I mean? And it's not in these weird pseudo masculine like ideas of like, oh, I'll do it all myself. It's just like,
Yep. Yep.
or whatever. It's just like we can, me helping make your life better makes my life better.
For
All
sure.
of us helping make each other's lives better make our own lives better. It's like, it's that understanding. It's just straight up like people want to talk about like, oh yeah, well there's like that goes against human nature or whatever. The amazing thing about humans is that we're adaptable. That's what's amazing. That's what human
Yep.
nature is, right? So no matter how bad life gets, we can adapt to it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what these people are exploiting right now. You know what I mean? They're exploiting the fact that we are adaptable. It's just like, oh, whatever. Make gas more expensive. Make housing more
Yeah.
expensive. People, they'll just adapt, whatever, and they'll figure out a way. They'll figure out one way or another. They'll get 12 credit cards if they have to. You know what I mean? Even though, you know, all this shit is taking years off of our lives collectively. It's just like, you know, like humans aren't, there is no, I don't believe in human nature. People are adaptable. It's like they can be anything that they need to be. So why not create a socio-political and socio-economic condition that makes humans thrive instead of scratch to kill each other to try to survive? You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And I got the next question is not segued in all at
that's
all.
That's all good.
But your vocals on the album are next level again. I mean,
thank you.
What's going on? Because you know, I thought that you kind of had your iconic sound already, and then you come on with this new stuff, and I'm like, what's going on? I mean, there's a premeditated kind of development, like a conscious development that you're going through, or is this just like the natural development of your voice over the years?
I wish I had a really romantic answer for it, but literally sometimes I'll just go into the studio, or even let's say on tour. Sometimes I'll get on stage and my voice just doesn't work. Sometimes I get on stage and it's the best it's ever been. And I think I got really lucky with two things. First and foremost, I think I just went into the studio and I was like, my vocals, I don't know what, maybe everything from the kind of water you're drinking to when you eat during the day to the temperature outside, all of this can affect your vocal cords. It really can.
Sure.
But more than anything, it's mental. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like mental condition. And I think the major difference, if I was to say there is one, is just how confident I was. You know what I mean? Like how confident I was in the material and how confident I was in our recording process that I just went in there. I was like, yeah, you know what the fuck it is. You know what I mean? Like when you go in there like that and you exude that kind of confidence in what you're doing, you're going to get your best takes. And that's really what it was, probably more than anything else. Was just knowing like, we're doing something cool here. You know what I mean? Like we're creating something great here. And every time I would get behind the mic, I just knew exactly what I had to do and I fucking did it. You know what I mean? Even I was saying that while we were doing it. Everyone in the band is like, dude, your vocals sound insane. And I'm just straight up like, I straight up don't know what I'm doing different. So don't ask me to do this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that to create an unfair bar for my expectation, because it's like, I just went in there and I would just like knew what I had to do and I was confident and I just did it.
That's amazing. And this is for both cleans and for your harsh vocals. I mean, obviously, you know, I think it's in Hush when you say live and die. I think it's in Hush, or maybe it's in Who Dares. I can't remember. But that, like, when it just stops and it's just you saying die, I was like, oh my fucking God, like what is happening?
I think that's actually the that song Instruments of the End, which is that's another one of my favorites. That's right before The Shine. Is
it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, I got it wrong. But yeah, either way,
it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
but like
it's
for sure. For sure. Like there was a lot of crazy shit that we did, and like I did high vocals and low vocal, you know what I mean? Like I was literally going like shit like that, like that I never do. You know what I mean? And I was like, shit, like the really high and low. Like I was always just kind of like keep it mid, and just do your thing. But like I layered in a bunch of different ways, and
that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, and I mean, like even in Hush, like that really big. I don't know how is that like a collective whispering? It's like gang whispers.
Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is. So it's we talked about that. Like where we all just like went in. We're like hush, like a million times. But it sounds fucking sick because it's like these giant gangs with these little whispers. It
intimidating as hell.
For sure.
It's really like overbearing. It's like, oh my God.
We actually really joked about how that song came out so hard, and we're all just like, we as a band are not as hard as the music that we made. Which I feel like nowadays is just like, that's just run of the mill. You know what I mean?
That's really funny.
You have these children, these young fucking children who are this fucking skinny, making the hardest music you've ever heard in your life. You know what I mean? It's just like crazy.
Yes, that's very true. I mean, you look at, Will from Lorna Shore, or just anyone from that kind of, that genre. Yeah, they're little and they're cute when they're off stage, but then in studio, they're just like absolute demonic. Yeah, that's it. As opposed to someone like Matt from Kublai Khan, who is literally as scary sonically and physically. He's like, I don't want to meet that guy because I'm so scared of him. Like,
No, for sure, for
actually, I had
sure.
an interview with Kublai Khan. I had an interview with the drummer Isaac, and I was like, oh, thank God. I feel okay, like chatting to him. I feel like I can have a conversation with him without like quivering.
No,
But
for sure, for sure. And
yeah,
we're about to do a tour with them actually, so I'm excited because I don't really know them very well.
That's cool.
But like they've been absolutely fucking crushing it. So I'm pumped to get on tour with them, and like
Yeah,
I've been
the
seeing the
latest
way
EP is
that
top.
just the way that they demand crowds too. I'm just like, that's just good for the show as a whole. So I'm just like pumped to have them up. They're gonna get everybody all wild and rowdy, and I'm not gonna have to do
100%,
shit.
man.
You know what I mean? I can just walk out and do my thing. Like, so
Yes,
it's gonna
definitely.
be sick. Yeah.
And so icon wise for this album, of course, you've gone back to the diamond, the cyclical diamond. Why? I mean, of course, you've got, for Hope Division, you've got the Love Heart diamond, you've got the diamond disobedient, you've got the infinity symbol. What's the reason for going back to an icon that's been used previously?
I think I mean, again, not really romantic answer. It was first and foremost, it's like, okay, well, we need a new thing. And we couldn't, I don't want to say we couldn't think of it. We definitely could have, but it was more so like, I feel like people as a whole identified Stick to Your Guns with the diamond anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like with diamond, that had such an impact for whatever reason on our core fan base that almost kind of just became the default symbol. And I was just kind of like, I was thinking to myself, and I was like, we should just bring that back and have that be the logo moving forward. Even though we do have the heart one and like we do have the infinity one, like people just seem to connect with the diamond in a way that was just like, that was kind of like really cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like we even considered going into Disobedient, which was the infinity one, of just keeping it the diamond because of how popular it was among people who listened to Stick to Your Guns. But we ended up trying to move it. And then even on our EP, we did like a little eye that was like kind of like in the way. So it's like we started getting pretty creative and like coming up with different ways of doing it. But the diamond just seemed to be the one where I was like, this one just makes sense to be our logo. You know what I mean?
That's
and
awesome.
Like now the idea is just to build it up to where it's just like when you see the diamond logo, you just know, like almost like the black flag symbol. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't need to. If you see the 4 bars, you know Black Flag. It doesn't have to say Black Flag. Like or any band that has a logo. That's how logos work. You know what I mean? I'm just explaining
that's
how
exactly
logos
it.
work. But like, but that's ultimately that's the idea. Like, just make it so the diamond is the only thing.
Yeah, and when people see the tattoo on my ankle, they're like, "Oh, so do you like love recycling? Is that what you like?"
Well, it's funny too because right when we released Hope Division, which is the diamond one,
it's the heart one.
The heart one. Yeah. Victoria's Secret released a massive campaine that was it was called like Recycle Your Love, and it was a straight up heart in recycle, like almost a week after we dropped Diamond. So everyone's like, "Oh, you're just like." Then that just gave people fodder to like make fun of us or whatever. But
incredible. I never realized I had a Victoria's Secret tattoo on my ankle. That's fucking sick.
But now it's like the diamond is just like that can't be like there's like that just seems to be pretty much like our thing. Like the infinity symbol, it's like, people have that. They're like you can get that at a tattoo shop on the flash wall, like the infinity with the So it's just like this one seems to be like, okay, this one is ours. Like this can't be mimicked or reproduced by anybody else. This one's ours. So yeah,
that's amazing. What do you hope to inspire in young people, I guess, and listeners in general, but mainly young people as they move through Spectre?
Sure. I mean, just this idea that like what we're taught, like that the subjects that we're talking about aren't pipe dreams, or that they're not like we speak on these subjects with confidence. Not because we are delusional, although there's probably a lot of people who think we are, but because we believe in what we're saying so much, and we just want. There was this big quote I said on stage one time in Arizona that like exploded all over the internet, where it was basically like, people tell me all the time that they like, why do you scream? You like, if you really have something important to say, why scream it? Because people can't understand what you're saying. And I say, well, people don't listen to me when I talk anyway. So at least if I'm screaming, they're going to understand how I'm feeling, regardless of what I'm saying.
That's a good point.
And I feel like a lot of people really connected with that. And ultimately, that's what it is. We just want people to know like that we really believe in what we're saying. You know what I mean? And we really believe in what it is that we are fighting for. And not that what Stick to Your Guns is doing is inherently fighting for anything. These are just songs. And sure, they might be able to inspire people, but we hope they can inspire young people to act. Because when you
Yes.
act, that's when you really bring what it is you believe to fruition. A belief is nothing. What is a belief? Nothing. That's nothing. That's just in your head. If you don't bring it out into the actual world and see the way that it affects other people and yourself, your beliefs are nothing. And so that's hopefully what we can inspire, right? Is like, oh, they really believe in what they say. And the drummer George is fucking writing essays and books. And Jesse has all power and he's trying to do these other things. And Josh also like works with the homeless in his area. Like they're not only just saying on record what they believe, but they're also a group of individuals who's trying to live what it is that they believe, that are
Yes.
showing us that they're not just screaming their principles at me, but they're also living what they believe to be their principles as well. So that's important. And we've even gotten a lot of like kind of daps from people who are like staunch anti-communists, but they're like, at the very least, you're doing it. You know what I mean? You're not just on Twitter telling what you're believing. Like we respect, like I'll give you daps on like actually going and walking your talk. You know what I mean? So which, you know, I take that with a grain of salt. That doesn't mean anything to me, but you know, that's the goal. Like we have to understand, like we can't just talk about it. We can't just do any of that. We want to show people like you can live it. You can, even if it's as simple as like, oh, going and next time you see a homeless person on the street, maybe just sitting and talking with them and figuring out, okay, what do you need? Like, you know, there's this quote in communism: no investigation, no right to speak. And there's this big thing called social investigation. And social investigation is going and talking to your community, just talking with them and asking them questions. You know what I mean? Because that's another thing that we've been alienated from is each other. We don't even want to talk to each other anymore. We just want to talk shit to each other online, or we want to like, you know, keep our head down and keep, you know, stay in our phone all throughout the day and not talk to each other. Go and ask, what do you see as the fucking issues in society? And let's try to struggle through these things. Let's try to figure them out. And so, I'm hoping that I can inspire that in young people to talk to each other more and to maybe put that. I don't want to be this kind of like, oh, technology's taking over our brains and our worlds. Like, I'm not trying to be a fucking like grandpa about the shit, but like maybe though, you know what I mean? Like go touch grass, go outside, like go. And I feel like I don't have to tell you Australians to do that because you all are fucking jumping off cliffs and doing backflips in the park. And also
we stay away from grass. There's snakes in there and stuff.
Oh yeah. That's right. Everything can fucking kill you there. I forgot. But you know what I mean? It's just like,
for sure. I get that. I completely understand though.
You know, and also understanding white supremacy. It's like when a native person or an indigenous person tells you as an individual that you benefit off the genocidal settler colony that has been placed, don't take that personally. Listen. Because the thing is, these systems have been built in our image, in your image and in mine. This system is literally meant for white men. Like, I know you're tired of hearing of it, and you think that what I'm saying right now, not you, but maybe the average listener, might think that what I'm saying right now is meant to divide. It's not. All I'm trying to say is shut your fucking mouth for a second and listen. This also goes to self-proclaimed leftists who think like, oh, well, like I'm a white leftist, therefore I know. You don't. Shut the fuck up and listen to somebody. Listen, be quiet. We don't need to hear from you anymore. You know what I mean? Like that's the biggest thing. Social investigation. Go talk to people, and not, you know, not just the rich white people in your neighborhood, but to the people who are at the bottom. You know what I mean? We blame homeless people all goddamn day in our societies for the problems of our society. What fucking power does a homeless person have? What power? Like, how can they be the problem? They have no power. They're on the streets. They're on the street. You know what I mean? And that might make a person dangerous. No fucking shit. I would be dangerous as fuck if I lived on the street and had to fight to survive every goddamn day. You know what I mean? So what? Oh yeah, you know, this just happened the other day. A homeless person had a knife, and this guy fucking took out a gun and put 5 bullets in his chest. It's like, that's a dangerous situation. If we want to fix that situation, get that person off the street. Get them off the street. and not in a way. And I always say this all the time about conservatives, like my dad. Conservatives are always right, but for the wrong reasons. They're disgusted by seeing people on the street. They're disgusted by seeing homeless people. So are communists. The only difference is communists recognize those people within a context of a system that lets them be there, whereas conservatives are like, oh, these people are just lazy, drug addict, junkie, prostitute, pieces of shit. It's like, okay, relax. But let's get those people off the street and get them the help that they need. And so that we can reintegrate them back into society so that they can maybe add to our society. You know what I'm saying? It's like
100%.
That's it. That's it. I agree with the conservative when we're both looking at homeless people lining the street. That's a disgusting sight, but it's a disgusting system that allows them to be there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The situations that's disgusting, not the actual people themselves.
Right,
It's, you want to fix that situation. You don't want to so much fix the people because it's up to themselves to fix themselves. But you want to be able to help them. You want to be able to have that. You want to be able to have that kind of approach where you can provide support where they need it, as opposed to just saying, "Oh, you just clean yourself up, would you?" It's
right,
like,
exactly.
There is a different mentality for sure.
100%, 100%. And it's like a cycle of trauma, and sometimes it can be generational. And like, we have to confront these things. We have to. You know what I mean? Like, and police only exist to stop crime after it happened. You know what I mean? And it's like, if we want to make it right for all the people who are like the defund the police can't like people, or as I am, abolish the police people, we have to confront these things. You know what I mean? We can't just say like defund the police. The end. It's like, well, what do you mean? Oh, I don't know. It's like, no. That's not the correct position. I'm sorry. What defund the police and abolish the police should mean is that we have a society that will look after people and keep them from leading these lives of what bourgeois society considers crime. You know what I mean? Criminalizing poverty and criminalizing homelessness is only going to keep people in these cycles of crime. We have to stop this. We have to confront it. We have to. And that's like, I'm militant on that. I'm not going to hear any other way. I don't care. Well, you have to listen to the other side. I don't care. I don't care about the other side. That's just what it is. I'm sorry. I'm not unbiased. I am incredibly biased. I don't care about the opinions of rich people in their towers. Oh, let's listen to hear what they say. What are their opinions on homelessness?
Yeah.
I don't care. Because I promise you, it's nothing productive. I promise you. I've listened to them. I've heard them all. I've heard all of them, and it's nothing productive. So it's like,
I think the important thing is that you did listen first before you said, "I'm not going to listen anymore." Like that's the important thing for sure. You got to know the opposite side before you kind of stick to one thing. Otherwise, there could be something important that you might be missing on both sides.
No doubt.
Of course,
no doubt.
Dude, let's wrap this up because look, I've got a bachelor in criminology and criminal justice, so like I'd be so keen to go down this rabbit hole with you even further.
100%.
But
I would love that.
We have to we have to kind of nip it off here. Look, let's just say, I mean, Spectre is coming out July 27th via Pure Noise Records.
You would know better than I would.
Yeah, July 27th, Pure Noise Records. People should not miss this album. It is by far the best material you guys have put out. And like as we've just seen through this, hour-long interview, it is packed to the absolute brim, full of so many messages, so many themes that are really important, and they're obviously very they're relevant to everyone as well, and they're vital to have discourse over. So people should be jumping on that as soon as they can.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you so much for your time, man. I really hope that we can revisit this stuff again, because I think you and I would have a very good conversation about a lot of this stuff.
Oh, 100%.
But look, take care. With you two coming up, of course. I hope it all goes well.
Thank you so much, bud.
Yeah, cool, man. Thank you again not for having me. Thank you again for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, bro.
Peace out, Tasmania.